The Book of Enoch is a work shrouded in deep and controversial mysteries that trace back to ancient times. This manuscript, which remained hidden and excluded from the biblical canon for many centuries, evokes a peculiar fascination with its narratives filled with revelations about the cosmos, spirituality, and the history of humanity. But what exactly makes this book so enigmatic? Why was it suppressed and forgotten for so long? What secrets does it hold that could challenge our most deeply held beliefs? The figure of Enoch, briefly mentioned in Genesis, is veiled in mystery. A man who, according to the Bible, walked with God and was taken to heaven without experiencing death. However, what few people know is that Enoch left behind a written legacy, a text that details his visions and experiences, and that for a long time was considered too dangerous to be widely disseminated. Could the Book of Enoch contain truths that might transform our understanding of the universe and spirituality? And more importantly, why were these truths hidden from us? Enoch is a figure who, at first glance, seems to be just a footnote in the vast biblical narrative. Mentioned in Genesis, he is described as someone who walked with God and was taken from earthly life without experiencing death, a fate reserved for few. But does this brief mention truly do justice to Enoch's significance? What did he see and experience to deserve such a unique destiny? And if he was so special as to be taken to heaven without knowing death, what could he have witnessed or revealed that earned him such a distinction? According to the Book of Enoch, this patriarch not only lived a righteous life, but was also chosen to witness the mysteries of the universe and to record his visions in a text that challenges human understanding. This book, which is divided into several parts, encompasses everything from mythical narratives to detailed descriptions of the heavens and spiritual realities. The Book of the Watchers, for instance, recounts the fall of the angels who descended to earth and mingled with humans, corrupting God's creation. These angels, known as the Watchers, not only disobeyed God, but also taught humans forbidden knowledge, such as the use of metals to make weapons, astrology, and other hidden secrets. The resulting corruption from these teachings led to such a great moral degradation that, according to the book, God decided to purify the earth with the flood. But why did these angels, originally good and pure beings, choose to rebel? And what does this tell us about the nature of good and evil? Another significant part of the Book of Enoch is the Book of Parables, which contains prophetic visions of the final judgment and the coming of the Messiah. But what do these visions tell us about the fate of humanity? Are these prophecies mere allegories or revelations of future events? This book, unlike most scriptures, proposes a multifaceted view of the cosmos, where there isn't a single heaven but multiple heavens, each with its own hierarchies and functions. This vision of a multifaceted and hierarchical cosmos differs in many ways from the more simplified cosmology found in the canonical Bible. Did Enoch have access to a deeper and more esoteric knowledge than other prophets? Beyond the Watchers and the eschatological visions, the Book of Enoch also explores the idea that the universe is governed by cosmic laws and cycles that are beyond human comprehension. In the astronomical book, for example, Enoch describes the movements of celestial bodies and how they influence events on Earth. Was this advanced knowledge of astronomy truly revealed by celestial beings? And what would be the purpose of sharing this kind of information with a mere mortal? He is taken by angels through the different heavens, where he witnesses the workings of the celestial spheres and learns about the role of angels in maintaining cosmic order. These detailed descriptions suggest that Enoch possessed a profound knowledge of astronomy and cosmology, which was passed on to him by celestial beings. But why was this knowledge given to Enoch and not to other prophets? Was he being prepared for an even greater role in the spiritual history of humanity? The Book of Enoch also contains a section known as the Book of Dreams, where Enoch describes dream visions he had about the history of humanity, from creation to the end of time. These visions are symbolic and full of metaphors, offering a spiritual interpretation of historical events. For example, one of the most famous visions describes the fall of the angels as stars falling from the sky, an image that became iconic in many later religious traditions. What could these metaphors reveal about the true nature of the universe? And if these visions are prophecies, what do they tell us about the future of humanity? This section of the book is particularly intriguing because it seems to anticipate many of the events that would later be recorded in the Bible, suggesting that Enoch had access to prophetic knowledge. But how did he gain this knowledge, and what impact did this have on our understanding of biblical history? The book of Enoch ends with the Epistle of Enoch, where he delivers a series of moral and spiritual exhortations to his descendants, warning them about the dangers of corruption and encouraging them to follow the path of righteousness. But what is the true purpose of these exhortations? Are they merely warnings or guides to achieving salvation? This final section serves as a reminder of the greater purpose of Enoch's visions, to prepare humanity for the final judgment and the coming of God's kingdom. Through his writings, Enoch seeks to convey a message of hope and redemption, but also a warning about the dangers of straying from the divine path. And, considering everything he saw and learned, shouldn't we pay more attention to his words? The history of the Book of Enoch is marked by its suppression and eventual disappearance from the biblical canon. In the early centuries of the Christian era, the book was widely read and respected, particularly among Jews and early Christians. Church fathers like Justin Martyr, Clement of Alexandria, and Origen cited the Book of Enoch in their writings, evidencing its importance to the theology and spirituality of the time. But why, then, was such an influential text relegated to obscurity? What forces were at play to ensure its exclusion from the sacred scriptures? Could the Book of Enoch have represented a danger to the emerging doctrine? The Council of Laodicea, held in the 4th century, was a pivotal moment in the process of consolidating the biblical canon. During this council, church leaders decided which books would be included in the Bible and which would be excluded. The Book of Enoch was one of the texts that did not make the cut, being officially rejected. The reasons for this exclusion are complex and multifaceted. One of the main factors was the questionable authorship of the text. Many scholars believe that the book was not written by Enoch himself, but by different authors over several centuries. This composite nature of the text raised doubts about its authenticity and its authority as sacred scripture. But is the question of authorship so important in light of the text's revealing content? Beyond the issue of authorship, the content of the Book of Enoch was also a crucial factor in its exclusion. The book presents a vision of the cosmos and history that, in many respects, differs from that found in the canonical Bible. How did these differences affect the Church's perception of the book? For instance, the description of the Watchers, angels who disobeyed God and corrupted humanity, contradicts the traditional narrative of Satan's fall. In the Book of Enoch, evil is not centralized in a single figure, but is seen as the result of the collective actions of fallen angels. This more fragmented view of evil might have been seen as a threat to the emerging theology, which sought to unify beliefs and consolidate the figure of Satan as the primary adversary of God. But did the exclusion of other perspectives not impoverish our understanding of the battle between good and evil? Another controversial aspect of the Book of Enoch is its eschatological vision. The book contains several passages describing the final judgment, the resurrection of the dead, and the coming of the Messiah. While these themes are also present in the New Testament, the way they are approached in Enoch is significantly different. For example, the Book of Enoch suggests that not only humans will be judged, but also the fallen angels, who will be punished for their crimes. This idea that celestial beings are also subject to divine judgment is a perspective not widely explored in the canonical Bible. Why did the Church choose to ignore this vision? This could have contributed to the decision to exclude the book. And what does this decision reveal about the theological priorities of the time? The exclusion of the Book of Enoch from the biblical canon did not mean its complete disappearance. For centuries, the book continued to be read and preserved in some communities, particularly in Ethiopia, where the Ethiopian Orthodox Church still considers it part of its biblical canon. However, in the West, the book fell into obscurity until it was rediscovered in the 18th century. When the Scottish explorer James Bruce brought copies of the Ethiopian manuscript to Europe, this rediscovery sparked renewed interest in the text and led to its translation into several European languages, allowing Western scholars and theologians to re-examine its content and significance. But what did this rediscovery mean for the modern understanding of spirituality and religion? Is the world finally ready for the revelations contained in the Book of Enoch? The history of the Book of Enoch also raises broader questions about the process of forming the biblical canon and the decisions that shaped Christian theology. Why were certain texts included while others were excluded? What criteria were used to determine what would be considered sacred and what would be rejected? The case of the Book of Enoch suggests that these decisions were influenced not only by theological considerations, but also by political and social issues. The exclusion of Enoch can be seen as part of a larger effort to create a unified Christian orthodoxy, eliminating texts that might challenge or complicate the official narrative. Could other works of equal importance have also been lost or forgotten? And what does this tell us about the complexity of the process of forming the sacred scriptures? The Book of Enoch is perhaps best known for its descriptions of the Watchers, a group of angels who descended to earth and, contrary to their divine orders, mingled with humanity. These angels, led by Samyaza, not only took human wives, but also taught humanity forbidden knowledge, such as the making of weapons, astrology, and magic. But what motivated these celestial beings to disobey God? What did they truly hope to achieve by imparting this forbidden knowledge? The story of the Watchers is one of the most fascinating and disturbing narratives in the Book of Enoch, as it suggests that the corruption of the ancient world was caused not only by humanity, but by the direct intervention of celestial beings who abused their power. The Watchers are portrayed as beings of great power and wisdom, but also as deeply fallible entities. By disobeying God and engaging with the daughters of men, they transgressed the boundaries between the divine and the human, creating a race of giants known as the Nephilim. These giants, according to the Book of Enoch, were beings of immense strength and size, but also of great wickedness. They consumed all the resources of the earth and eventually began to consume human flesh, transforming into true monsters that threatened the very existence of humanity. But did these events really happen, as described, or were they a reflection of the fears and anxieties of the time? The corruption brought by the Watchers was not limited to the generation of the Nephilim. By teaching humans forbidden secrets, they fundamentally altered the natural order of the world. The knowledge the Watchers imparted to humans, such as metallurgy and astrology, may have been beneficial in some respects, but it also led to the development of weapons and war, increasing violence and destruction on Earth. This aspect of Enoch's narrative suggests an ambiguous view of knowledge. It can be both a blessing and a curse, depending on how it is used. But how should we, as humanity, interpret these teachings? Should we seek this forbidden knowledge, or avoid the same mistakes of the past? Could understanding these lessons help us avoid similar tragedies in the future? The story of the Watchers is therefore a reflection on the consequences of disobedience and the abuse of power, both in the celestial and terrestrial realms. The actions of the Watchers led God to take a drastic measure to restore order, the Great Flood. The Book of Enoch provides a detailed account of the events leading up to the flood, portraying it as a necessary purification to eliminate the corruption brought by the fallen angels and the Nephilim. God's decision to flood the earth is presented as an act of divine justice, but also as a warning about the consequences of disobedience. Was this purification truly necessary, or could there have been another way to restore balance in the world? This narrative, while echoing the flood story found in Genesis, offers a much broader and more complex context, connecting the event to a cosmic battle between the forces of good and evil. But what does this story tell us about divine justice? Can we interpret the flood as an example of God's direct intervention to correct the mistakes of the beings he created? The Book of Enoch doesn't just describe the Watchers and the flood. It also explores the spiritual consequences of these transgressions. Enoch is taken by angels on a series of mystical journeys, where he witnesses the celestial realms and learns about the fate of souls after death. What do these visions tell us about the final destiny of the fallen angels? Is there any hope of redemption for them, or is their condemnation eternal? Enoch sees the places where the fallen angels will be punished for their disobedience and where the righteous will be rewarded for their faithfulness. These visions are described with a richness of detail that suggests a complex and interconnected cosmology, where the destinies of celestial and human beings are closely linked. The Book of Enoch thus offers a comprehensive vision of the cosmos, where every action has its consequences, both in heaven and on earth. But are these visions literal or symbolic? And what does this tell us about the workings of the spiritual universe? The revelations contained in the Book of Enoch have also profoundly influenced other religious and mythological traditions. The idea of fallen angels and their interactions with humans can be found in various ancient cultures, suggesting that these stories have deep roots in humanity's collective consciousness. The Anunnaki of the Sumerians, for example, are described as gods who descended from heaven and taught humanity various forms of knowledge, much like the Watchers of Enoch. These connections between the Book of Enoch and other mythologies indicate that it played a crucial role in shaping the religious and spiritual narratives, the narratives that molded the ancient world. But what does this mean for our understanding of spirituality today? Are these stories merely legends, or do they reflect universal truths about the nature of good and evil? Could studying these traditions help us find a common thread that enhances our understanding of our own nature and our place in the cosmos? The authenticity of the Book of Enoch has been a central issue in the debate over its inclusion or exclusion from the biblical canon. Attributed to Enoch, a biblical patriarch who lived before the flood, the text raises questions about its true authorship. But does the identity of the author diminish the value of the messages contained in the book? Most scholars agree that the book was actually written by various people over different periods, with the oldest parts dating back to the 3rd century BCE, and others added up until the 1st century CE. This composite nature of the text raises doubts about its cohesion and integrity, making it a target of criticism both in antiquity and in the modern era. But are these criticisms fair, or are they masking truths we are not yet ready to confront? The narrative structure of the Book of Enoch is another area of concern. Because it was written by different authors, the text presents internal inconsistencies that make it difficult to read as a cohesive work. Different sections of the book address themes and characters in ways that sometimes appear contradictory. How do these contradictions affect our understanding of the text as a whole? Could these inconsistencies indicate a multiplicity of views and interpretations that could enrich our understanding of the spiritual? For example, while the Bible traditionally centralizes the responsibility for humanity's corruption on Satan, the Book of Enoch blames Azazel, one of the leaders of the Watchers. Azazel is depicted as the main culprit for teaching humans the forbidden secrets that led to the moral degradation of the earth, creating a tension with the broader biblical narrative that positions Satan as the primary agent of evil. But could this alternative view offer a deeper and more complex understanding of the struggle between good and evil? Beyond these thematic inconsistencies, the Book of Enoch also presents significant differences in how it approaches the concepts of repentance and redemption. The text suggests that the fallen angels, including Azazel, might repent of their sins, an idea that strongly contrasts with Orthodox Christian doctrine. In the Christian tradition, fallen angels are seen as irredeemably condemned, with no possibility of redemption. This theological divergence may have been one of the reasons why the Book of Enoch was rejected by church leaders. Church leaders sought to maintain a more cohesive and uniform doctrine. But what does this tell us about the flexibility of religious beliefs over time? Should our understanding of redemption be broader than we imagine? And if these fallen angels were given a second chance, what would that mean for the concept of divine mercy? The literary style of the Book of Enoch also differs significantly from the canonical texts of the Bible. While the Bible is known for its highly interconnected structure, where each word and verse is linked to a larger context, the Book of Enoch is more fragmented. The various visions and stories within the book do not always connect clearly or logically, which could be attributed to the fact that the text was written and rewritten over several centuries by different authors. This lack of narrative cohesion may have contributed to the decision to exclude the book from the canon, as it did not seem to align with the literary and theological standards of the Bible. But could this fragmentation reflect the complexity of the spiritual world that Enoch described? Perhaps by accepting this complexity, we could deepen our understanding of spirituality and accept that the divine may manifest in ways we have yet to fully comprehend. Despite these criticisms, however, the Book of Enoch remains a work of great importance, especially for those interested in understanding the diversity of religious beliefs and interpretations that existed in the ancient world. The text offers a rich and complex view of ancient cosmology and spirituality, going beyond what is found in the canonical scriptures. At the same time, its inconsistencies and contradictions serve as a reminder of the complexity of the process of forming religious thought and how different traditions and narratives were incorporated and reinterpreted over time. Are these contradictions really problems, or could they be seen as opportunities to expand our understanding of spirituality? And if these seemingly fragmented texts offer us a more comprehensive and complete view of spiritual truth, shouldn't we reconsider their importance and value? For contemporary scholars, the Book of Enoch is valuable not only for its content, but also for what it reveals about the theological tensions and debates that shaped the development of Judaism and Christianity. The fact that the book was written and revised over several centuries indicates that it reflected a series of evolving concerns and beliefs. This makes the Book of Enoch not just a testimony of a past era, but also a window into the dynamic process of religious formation, where different ideas competed for acceptance and influence. Are these debates still relevant to us today? How can we apply the lessons of the past to address the spiritual challenges of the present? Perhaps, by studying these ancient texts, we can find answers to questions that still trouble us today. One of the most fascinating and controversial theories associated with the Book of Enoch is the possibility that the Watchers, the fallen angels described in the text, might actually be extraterrestrial beings. This theory, popularized by authors like Erich von Däniken, suggests that Enoch's descriptions of chariots of fire and luminous beings descending from the sky can be interpreted as ancient accounts of encounters with UFOs and aliens. But can we really interpret ancient texts through the modern lens of ufology? And what if these interpretations are more than mere speculations? Although this interpretation is controversial, it offers a new perspective on the narratives in the Book of Enoch and how they might be understood in light of modern knowledge about the universe and the possibility of extraterrestrial life. In the Book of Enoch, the Watchers are described as powerful beings who descended from the sky in chariots that shone like the sun and made a sound like thunder. These chariots, with their characteristics of fast movement and intense brightness, could be seen as an ancient metaphor for spacecraft, while the Watchers themselves, with their wisdom and superhuman abilities, could be interpreted as visitors from other worlds. This interpretation suggests that the Book of Enoch might be one of the earliest written records of encounters with extraterrestrial beings, offering a glimpse into a time when humans may have interacted with entities from beyond Earth. But did this really happen? Or are we simply reinterpreting ancient legends through our own cultural filters? And if these legends are actually records of real events, what would that mean for our understanding of history and spirituality? Moreover, the connections between the Book of Enoch and other mythologies reinforce the idea that these stories might have common roots in human experience. In Sumerian mythology, for example, the Anunnaki are described as gods who descended from the sky and taught humanity various forms of knowledge, much like the Watchers described by Enoch. These gods were often depicted as giants or superior beings, a characteristic also shared by the Nephilim, the offspring of the Watchers and human women. These similarities raise the question: were ancient civilizations recounting the same events but with different cultural interpretations? Or are these accounts evidence of continuous interaction between humans and entities from other worlds? This similarity raises the possibility that the stories in the Book of Enoch and ancient mythologies might have a common origin, based on real events or experiences that were interpreted in different ways over time. The influence of the Book of Enoch is not limited to Judeo-Christian culture alone. In various other religious traditions, we find stories of divine or supernatural beings descending from the sky to interact with humanity. In ancient Egypt, for example, Enoch, identified with the mystical figure of Hermes Trismegistus, is believed to have played a crucial role in the construction of the pyramids, using knowledge transmitted by the gods. This idea that superior beings taught humanity advanced techniques is a constant theme in many ancient cultures, suggesting a shared memory of extraordinary events that were interpreted in different ways over the centuries. But what do these stories really mean? Are we talking about myths or memories of a distant past that we still do not fully understand? And if these gods were actually visitors from other worlds, what was their real impact on the evolution of human civilization? The theory that the Watchers were extraterrestrials who influenced the development of human civilization also raises questions about the role these beings may have played in the evolution of human technology and knowledge. If the Watchers were indeed aliens who taught humanity forbidden knowledge, this could explain how some of the oldest civilizations, such as the Sumerians and Egyptians, were able to achieve such advanced levels of knowledge and technology. But should we accept this theory as truth or continue exploring other possibilities? And if this knowledge is still accessible to us in some way, what does that mean for our future? This idea, though controversial, continues to fascinate both scholars and the general public, and the Book of Enoch could be a key to understanding this theory. Are we ready to accept that our history might be much older and more complex than we imagined? And what would that mean for our future as a species? These connections between the Book of Enoch, ancient mythology, and the ancient astronaut theory suggest that human history might be much more complex and interconnected than we traditionally believe. Although these ideas are still speculative, they invite us to reconsider traditional narratives and explore new possibilities about our origins and the role that other beings, possibly from outside this world, may have played in our evolution. Are we ready to accept that our history is much older and more enigmatic than we imagine? The Book of Enoch, with its detailed descriptions and rich symbolism, remains a source of inspiration and investigation for those seeking to understand the deeper mysteries of humanity and the cosmos. Perhaps by delving deeper into these narratives, we can discover truths that are still beyond our comprehension. The Book of Enoch is a work that continues to challenge and expand our understanding of history, spirituality, and the universe. Its detailed descriptions of fallen angels, giants, and celestial visions offer an alternative and often unsettling view of the relationship between the divine and the human. Despite its exclusion from the biblical canon, the influence of the Book of Enoch is undeniable, resonating across various cultures and traditions throughout the centuries. Exploring this text is both a journey into the past and a reflection on the mysteries that still surround us and the possibilities they suggest. Are we ready to accept the hidden truths that the Book of Enoch might reveal? And if these truths are more complex than we can imagine, how will that change our view of the world and ourselves? If you are interested in exploring more about spirituality, I have specially selected some videos filled with deep knowledge and fascinating discoveries that you will love. Just click on one of them. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel to continue this journey of self-discovery and spiritual learning. Your commitment to knowledge is the first step to transforming your reality.